Let's focus on a few of these areas. We'll start with one of the two that you cited, Iran. So if you look at what Secretary Panetta has been saying over the last
It looked like beer on the camera.
I know. We should have had some glasses. That's right. Marco Rubio loosens up at 9 a.m. That's right.
That's why this is my favorite organization.
Right,
you guys
exactly. I stand by FBI. So you look at the statement Secretary Panetta has made recently, both at the security conference in Halifax, what he said at the Saban conference at Brookings last week, where he laid out all the reasons why Israel couldn't or shouldn't take military action against Iran, basically signaling that we have no interest in actually conveying to the Iranians that we want to back up our pressure on them with a credible military threat. He also seemed to be changing the red line. He talked about a red line being the Iranians disrupting commerce, our commerce through the Persian Gulf, as opposed to Iran actually building a nuclear bomb as a red line. So is your sense that the administration is moving more towards a containment strategy? What is being done in the Senate? I know there's a lot of activities around the central bank sanctions. What is your sense?
Well, here's the kind of the 50,000-foot analysis of it. I think Iran's leadership has to make a decision: do they want a bomb or not? And I'm not, and I think if they've decided that that's what they want, or at least the capability. By the way, they don't have to build one; they just have to show that they can. That gives them a certain point of leverage. But I think they're pretty committed to that, in my mind. I think that they, and I think all of the open source stuff you read basically leads you to the conclusion that if they want to do it, if they decide we want a bomb and we're going to build a bomb, there really is no technological impediment to doing it. I mean, poorer country, I mean, North Korea has no economy, but it's been able to build the bomb, and it's gotten more cost effective to do it, unfortunately, both in design and the access of those materials. So the question is, what price are they willing to pay? And I think the ongoing debate in many circles is, are they willing to do this at any price? And I don't know the answer to that, but are they willing to build a bomb or get access to nuclear capability at any price? It's tough to tell for two reasons. Number one is that regime's view of the world is not necessarily one built on reality. They have a warped view of the world. For example, they really believe the West is crumbling, America's on its last legs. They think at any moment now, you know, we're going to collapse as a nation, our economy is going to fall apart. They watch news reports of people camped out at parks, and they really believe this means the end of America, that this is coming to an end. And I would imagine if you watch some of the cable news stuff after 8 o'clock, you probably believe that too, if you're living halfway around the world and your people going back and forth. But truth be told, part of it is they have a really warped sense of reality of the world. The second is they have particularly the religious leaders in that country, which are the supreme leaders, have a strong ideological religious drive behind their foreign policy, which isn't necessarily built on pragmatism. It's built on kind of a messianic, you know, view of their role in the world and what events they could help bring about. So those are two very dangerous factors. So we have to deduce how high a price they're willing to pay before they're willing to walk away from a nuclear program. And we may find out there is no price they're not willing to pay. And then we have to ask ourselves, how bad is it? I mean, can we live with this? I mean, could we build a missile defense shield around them? Can we put military platforms around it that contain them? And I don't think there's anything wrong with, you know, creating a contingency plan in case all else fails to do that. But it certainly shouldn't be plan A, plan B, or plan C for a lot of reasons. First of all, a nuclear Iran would be an existential threat to Israel. I mean, right out of the bat. I mean, and I think Israel views it that way. And by the way, it's hard to lecture a country and tell them, hey, you really should take certain options on the table when you believe. I mean, here's the bottom line. If tomorrow Canada lost its mind and decided we are going to eviscerate the United States, and what we're going to do is build a nuclear arsenal, and we are going to target your 20 major cities and wipe you off the face of the earth until every American leaves America, how do you think we would respond to that? I think we would respond to that by saying, oh, no, you're not, and we're going to do everything we can to keep you from carrying that out. That's what Israel faces, except Israel doesn't just have problems from its neighbor in Iran or from its neighboring country in Iran. It has instability all around it. So I think it's really unfortunate that we have an administration lecturing Israel about what their options should be when their very existence is at risk if, in fact, Iran acts as a nuclear weapon and the mechanisms to deliver it. So that's problem number one in terms of that. I think that the second thing we need to understand is that this will lead to a regional arms race. There's no way the Saudis are going to sit back and allow for there to be a Shia bomb without there being a Sunni bomb. And so you're going to have an issue with regards to that. And then you have all of the Gulf kingdoms who also would look at something like that as a real threat as well, unless Saudi Arabia, you know, has lost confidence, unfortunately, in the U.S.'s commitment to the region. Then you look at this containment strategy, if that's in fact the direction the administration's moving, and it has challenges. We're pulling out of Afghanistan, we're pulling out of Iraq, we're pulling out of the region. Certainly, I mean, they would tell you that they'll have a presence in the Mediterranean and in Bahrain, but in order to carry operations, you have to have a stable military presence in the region in order to carry that out. I mean, for example, how did we do that in the days of the Cold War, where we had a significant military presence in Western Europe that allowed us to build a defense shield to protect our neighbors at a time where we're headed in the opposite direction right now as it is? How are you going to unwind that? How are you going to go back? Boy, it would really be helpful if there was a permanent U.S. military presence in Iraq, Afghanistan, and places like that to help build this containment strategy, both economically and militarily. So the administration, in fairness, would tell you that when they took office, the whole world was kind of dubious about the Iranian process. The United States reached out to Iran, and now the world has no doubt who the bad guy is in this endeavor. You know, they argue that, and I can see some of, you know, their arguments in that. But I think at the end of the day, we wasted a long time. The truth is, we never had a hope of turning these folks around. What we need to deduce now is how high are they willing to pay? Because this is what I would say, and this is the way I've couched it. I think the idea of Iran having a nuclear capability is so horrifying that there's virtually no realistic option that should be off the table for the United States. That's how horrifying the prospect of it. That's how big a deal this is. And the fact that we're tired and fatigued, perhaps because of conflicts in other parts of the world, the fact that we're kind of having this post-9/11 fatigue in terms of confronting these issues around the world, does not diminish the threat that Iran poses on a scale that I think has few precedents in human history for the United States.